How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the recently released game called CaveBlazers. It was developed by Rupek Games and has been published by the Yogscast, believe it or not. So what is CaveBlazers about? Well, if you're familiar with games like Spelunky and Risk of Rain, it is pretty much a mixture of all of those kind of, roguelike platforming games combined together. So let's click play and get started. Here we are. If you're familiar with Spelunky, you're probably seeing a lot of similarities here in terms of where we start out. So this is like the hub. This is how you enter the world, and we have various options going on here. At the moment, this guy, he appears to be a merchant. He was introduced to me at the beginning of the game, sort of as an introduction. And he doesn't do anything at the moment. He might do something later on. There is some light progression in the game, despite the fact that it is supposedly a rogue-like game. I don't know. There's some dispute there between whether they should be called rogue-like or rogue-lite. Yeah. So anyway, let's discuss some of the things available here before we jump into our dungeon. We have perks available. So these unlock over time. I'm not exactly sure how I've managed to unlock the ones that I have, but I noticed that as I increase in levels, sometimes they unlock. So that might be the primary means of acquiring new perks. So the perks all have various different abilities. They can be quite entailed. As you can see here, this is far from being simplistic for the archer. You have a total of about 4 different changes that are being made to the character's base attributes. The adventurer is what you start with, and it's fairly simple and straightforward. You start with an apple and 2 bombs. At the moment, I have been using, I've been using the vortex. So you can see it applies a lot of subtle changes to the rule set that a character abides by. One of the most significant and the most appreciated changes, in my opinion, was the fact that I got to start with a tomahawk as my ranged weapon as opposed to a bow. The tomahawk is basically like a gun that shoots plasma charges, I guess you could say. Here's another interesting perk. It's the springy perk. Basically allows you to do double jumps. But I'm pretty sure I have the perk I want. Yeah, Vortex. Okay, I want to keep that. Here we have the Outfitter. If you care about how your character looks, their appearance and stuff, you'll unlock various different outfits as you progress in the game, basically by earning experience, simply by playing. It's a small cosmetic addition, not overall very significant in the grand scheme of things, obviously. And then, of course, here we have Progress. I've only recently noticed this being added, and it basically gives you a lot of stats based on how much time you've played. As you can see, I'm closing in on 4 hours now, which is, I think, a fair amount of time to give first impressions for a platforming-based game. Games that like this are usually not all that involved as opposed to strategy, so I think that's a fair amount of time. 12 deaths, 0 wins, and 827 kills. To date, I've only killed the boss 1 time, and that's only the first boss. So, as you can tell, things are fairly difficult. So let's get started. You might have noticed this pumice crystal over here. Supposedly, using this will close the dungeon after you go in and doesn't allow anybody else to come in after you. I'm not sure why exactly you would want that, because the encounters I've had so far with additional AI-controlled adventures have been largely positive. So let's get these bats. Let's get these bats. So at the moment, as you've noticed, right there's my pulse gun. By default, I have a bow, and the bow would usually take 2 shots to take down a bat. But yeah, we have the pulse gun. The bats are tricky little devils, aren't they? They have this speed burst attack, but as you can tell, if you have played Spelunky, especially Spelunky Classic, this art style should look very familiar to you. It looks like suspiciously familiar, as a matter of fact, but the game itself feels a lot more fluid. Like you're not going to have to worry as much. All right, there's is he a friend? He's a friend. That's one of those AI control players. You don't have to worry as much about, or how would I put it? The game moves along a lot faster, like that. I just got blown up. Those guys are always tricky to defeat. Basically, so you have different types of enemies, and they all have different sorts of attacks. So as you noticed with the bat, there is the trickiness of them flying about. With that ghost, I think it was a ghost, it homes in on you and then blows up. So Some creatures that you encounter are best dealt with using melee weapons, and see, because right here I have a little sword. And other creatures are best dealt with ranged. Like, you don't want to get up and close with them because they'll cause a lot of damage to you. And as you can see here, as we're going along, collecting a lot of treasure that's located in these treasure chests. A lot of gold so far in this run, a total of 329 as of this recording time frame thing. And also, like, unlike Spelunky, you might have remembered Spelunky, yeah, it was a lot more difficult to climb objects and whatnot. In this game, not so much. Like, it feels very fluid moving about. You can jump and then sort of wall jump from there. Once you hit a wall, you simply can keep going up. So that's really fluid. Like I said, the game seems a lot more action oriented. Like, there was less in the way of keeping the gameplay flowing. It's like they really want sort of a ballet going on here. You have a dance of the swords or dance of the blades or something like that. Oh, this bat's gonna get me, isn't it? Yeah, and also the AI seems to be a lot smarter, maybe. They're less willing to do stupid things that's going to get them killed. So you have to actually sort of anticipate that, and then you'll usually end up taking more risks than you would in other more simplistic games. Well, not simplistic games, but games with more simplistic AI attacks, where they'd actually be more willing to put themselves in situations where you could easily kill that creature. Here we have our first goblin, as you can see. AI has no problem at all navigating the walls, but those goblins are easy to kill. There's a stronger goblin that actually provides a significant amount of challenge. Oh my goodness, we have a whole bunch of enemies going on here, and of course the ghost is back. Let's. I'm hoping I can hit the ghost with the range. There we go. Yeah, the ghost is one of those enemies that you really want to hit with a ranged weapon, and not with your melee weapon. But right, okay, I was gonna finish him off with my melee weapon. Let's see what we have over here. Okay, we got the goblins fighting. Apparently he killed the other adventurer we ran across. But see, right there is a goblin. So you can actually like sneak up behind them and then just clobber them a couple of times after they've performed their attack. And then, you know, you can engage them with melee. I don't want people thinking that the game relies exclusively on ranged weapons. I simply have taken a fancy to ranged weapons as they seem more forgiving in the long run. You can make more mistakes and then you don't pay the price for it, because health in this game is one of those things that comes in a limited quantity, as you've probably noticed in the upper left corner. I currently have 61 out of 80 health now. Because I'm playing this character with the vortex gun, I believe it was, I don't get my full 100 health. I'm sort of capped at 80 from the start. Let's go up here, see if we can get this chest. Maybe there's some gems in there. Yeah, it's pretty nice. But because I'm using the vortex gun perk, I'm reduced down by 20 health. So, you know, it's a 20% decrease in like starting health, and I also don't have an apple. So right here is my inventory. All your things will be stored in here. I did acquire a fire sword, so let's equip that. Obviously, the stats are better, 10 to 12, speed medium, whereas my old sword was only 9 to 11 damage. Here we have a nice ring. We have some trade-offs like -5 magic damage, -20 range speed. Probably don't equip that. We're using our vortex gun quite heavily at the moment. Here's an obsidian ring. It gives you plus 10% damage resist. So a lot of subtle changes you'll notice on a lot of these different things. Here we have blessings, and then of course the character stats themselves. So, you know, it's nice to have all that information at hand and ready to go. I haven't delved too deeply into it, haven't analyzed it, so to speak. Here we have a potion that we can pick up, I should say. Ooh, yeah. I was afraid I'd get hit there. So those jelly slimes will probably remind you of the slimes in Terraria. They do bear a resemblance. I don't think you can deny it. And I would say their attack patterns are much the same, so they can be tricky to deal with at times. As you might have noticed, when it comes to actually shooting, we simply use the left joystick. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in that manner, but there are only a total of 8 different directions you can fire in. So diagonally, and then the 4 cardinal directions, basically. So the objective here is to like score some good loot. I think it's more important. Here we have a goblin den. It's more important to get good loot. This is one of those hard to defeat goblins because these will shoot you. Say like that. You gotta be careful. I think those goblins are best dealt with in melee. try to get up close to them. But these goblins over here, these we can alert them, and they're fairly easy to beat with my vortex gun or a bow or any ranged equipment, basically. Yeah, so by and large, it feels like the objective of this game, or the objective of running these levels, is more focused on getting really good gear as opposed to getting a high score or getting gold, because bosses are very difficult to defeat. The only reason I defeated that one boss that I did is because I got a very good weapon that allowed me to take them down in a very short amount of time. So basically, before they had the opportunity to do much damage to me, during the time I was using that weapon on them, I was, you know, almost dealing damage continuously. So like the objective, in my opinion, from what I have sort of experienced myself, is that the primary goal of running these levels is simply to find the best gear possible. That was not good. We might actually die before hitting the second level, which would be a shame. So at the moment, it looks like every 2 levels, there will be sort of a boss level. At the moment, I have only gotten to level 3, as you might imagine. That's those slimes, I tell you, they're trickier than you think. See, it looks like they have, on the surface, the slimes don't appear to jump very far, but when they are targeting you, they basically have a longer jump attack, and then that causes me to miscalculate how far they're actually going to jump. Still haven't quite gotten used to that. Okay, these are the guys that shoot. So we're going to try to do some more melee with them. As you can see, they're fairly capable of navigating even more complex structures. So if you're worried about having a weak AI in this game, that's simply not the case. Yeah. Dealing with 2 of these at the same time is going to be a death sentence. They're very good with their ranged weapons. They're very good with their ranged weapons. I would say at the moment, those orcs are the bane of my existence in this game. So we unlocked a gray waistcoat, so that's a cosmetic item, and then of course you get some experience as progress. So basically, that was a run of 8 minutes and 23 seconds. We only reached level 2. I would still like to get to the boss fight if possible, so let's try to run along this as quickly as possible this time. So we're not going to be focusing as much on trying to get good gear, because as you can see, I can sort of run along here. The danger to doing this is that, yeah, you run into a lot of enemies, and the enemies will continue to follow you. Oh, that was death. So that was a classic death that you might have remembered from Spelunky. Landing on top of spikes is usually a killer. In my case, it will always be a killer because I have the Vortex class. If you have a regular class, though, it might not necessarily kill you because it only does 80 damage. So that's something to keep in mind. Since I have only 80 health, though, I'm obviously going to get killed immediately when landing on spikes. There are ways to increase your health. I wish I could get some of the more interesting stuff. There was stuff. Oh, look how far that slime jumped. I am not very good at timing this. There's a lot of other stuff, like blessings are involved. There I just did a jump attack. That's cool if you can pull it off. I find it a bit tricky to pull off sometimes with the joystick. So basically you have to jump up, perform an attack. Well, that's not. Jump up, perform an attack. Oh, yeah. You have to jump up, hold down, and then perform the attack. So it's a little bit involved. Right here we have our first blessing, apparently. I'm just gonna wait for the slime. Hopefully the slime will jump up here. No, okay. Let's go ahead and snatch that blessing. Increases my projectile size, therefore it will be easier to hit targets. So we can take a look at this actually by going here into the inventory and looking at blessings. So you can always check out which blessings you currently have. Blessings are usually free, but you can sometimes pay for them as well. Here we got a fire totem. So once again, you go to your character menu, you can equip some of this stuff. So here we have some meat. This will allow us to regain 40 health. That's pretty cool. We must have picked that up sometime when I didn't notice. Transformation scroll converts up to 5 nearby objects into gold. Could be useful if you need a lot of gold in a relatively short amount of time. And a fire totem. So let's equip this fire totem. And once it fully charges up, we'll be able to use its special power. What was the special power? It places a totem on the ground beneath you, which launches fireballs at nearby foes. So it's basically like a little turret, I guess you could say. It deals fire damage. Oh, that's a very cool weapon there. I want to get it. So this is the Bolt Lance. This is another weapon. It replaces our current weapon. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, okay. It's a bit like a Tesla or something. It uses magic. And it fires a straight round all the time. Ah, come on, dude. Yeah, it fires in a straight line. So this was actually the weapon that I used to defeat that boss. It's a really... if I could stop messing up here, that would be nice. It's a really good weapon because it relies on magic strength instead of, I don't know, what is it, like physical strength? And it seems to me that I have an easier time of becoming very powerful in a magic way as opposed to regular physical kind of strength. The great thing though is that you don't have to drop weapons. I especially like this. So a lot of other games, they won't deal necessarily with an inventory. You'll simply have to drop what other weapon you are currently holding. I mean, if you think about Spelunky, that's certainly the way that game worked. If you wanted to trade weapons, you'd have to go ahead and drop your current weapon and you wouldn't be able to switch back to it. In our case, we have quite a selection here. So in other words, we can pick up a really good weapon, but if it doesn't work in a given situation, we can always switch back to the other one at really quite a minimal cost. So that's it's nice to have those options on board, I think. Here we have an arcane box for 101 gold. Let's see if we can get it. Okay. I have gotten these arcane boxes before. They never really seem to do anything all that interesting, but let's go ahead and deploy it. So in addition to opening up the menu to access items, we can also do a quick select. So by holding down the left trigger on, well, yeah, it would be the left trigger on your controller, because this game does use a controller, we can go ahead and then select the arcane box like this. So by pressing up and down, we can select all these different items. They're in the quick select, they're automatically equipped there. I don't put them there, and there's the arcane box. Let's see what it does. Oh, it turned into a little skeleton guy. Looks like he's bad. At least that adventurer there is attempting to fight it. This could be a bad idea, jumping down here right now. So you can befriend... Is that guy good? No, he's not going to attack me. You can befriend other adventurers. They're all AI controlled. These are not actually other players. The game, as far as I'm aware, is strictly single player. But you can befriend these other adventurers and then they'll follow you all around. And that can be useful because they can act as sort of a meat shield against certain enemies that are normally, well, the way you encounter them usually, you're guaranteed basically one hit. But I didn't manage to befriend him. But overall, this level went fairly well, I think. There's a whole bunch of stuff over here, a bunch of loot. And so I'm going to just try to find some of that. Hopefully now with that very superior weapon, I'm not sure it's very superior, but with the the Tesla gun, basically, hopefully we have better odds of actually getting to the first boss stage at the very least. I'd just like to show you that because there's a bit of like Binding of Isaac influence going on there. The different bosses available in the game, every time you reach that level, it's not going to be the same boss. So it really does change up the game. Oh no. Killing 2 enemies will increase your maximum health by 1. I generally find it's just generating health that's more difficult. Trying to get rid of that ghost. There we go. Oh, we have our arch nemesis, the goblin that shoots. Oh, 15, no! Got 1+1 max health. Let's go ahead and eat this meat. So one of the things I've found about there simply being so many items in the world is I oftentimes forget about using all of them. Like I'm down to just bow and sword basically. And I just completely forget about using bombs, using magic items, because right now we have our magic skull thing. Let's see if we can deploy that. Hey, there it is. Oh! I was hoping the magic skull, and the magic skull did its job, but I still got hurt. So that will take a while to recharge, basically. Oh, that's cool. It's fighting. No, it's not fighting it anymore. Yeah, so that was one of the special power-ups that I had. It was that magic skull thing. It's still available. It's going to take a little bit of time to recharge. Here's a bomb. Bombs are great for blowing holes into new locations. You can actually deconstruct the terrain here. You might have noticed from time to time bombs being deployed. No, get them. When I say deployed, I mean other enemies drop bombs or like friendlies find some way to set them off. At the moment, though, I really do like this weapon. I just need to be a little bit more tactful in how I use it. Be less bullish, I guess. Okay, we got more of these guys. We have more of these. No, I'm going to die, I think. Let's see if we can. This is actually nice. Usually you don't get a really nice long run like this. Apparently they can't shoot quite that far, so I definitely get the drop on them then, which is a rare thing. Usually these guys are a complete nightmare to deal with. And they did it again. Maybe their arrows do damage based on how far they are from me. I think he's stuck down there, so let's go ahead and clean this place up if we can. 208 gold. Let's see what's here. Max health. That's probably one of my favorite statues. So yeah, that's what you'll mostly be using treasure for, are these statues. So unlike in, I mean, I keep comparing the game to Spelunky because I think that's the game that everybody's really familiar with, that, you know, really shares a lot of similar mechanics basically. But also Risk of Rain, I think, is another great influence. But, you know, in Spelunky, you'd have a merchant shop, and then that's where you would spend your gold. And I do miss the heists. You know, one fun thing about Spelunky was you could always take a risk and I gotta deal with this guy. Damn it. In Spelunky, you could always take that risk and say, well, I don't have enough gold to buy this stuff, but I know I'm not going to get any farther without it. So basically, damn it. This is going to kill me. I swear this is going to kill me. Oh my goodness. I tell you, those goblins are just murder. I haven't figured out how to deal with them. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, but I mean, I think we're getting to that point. Unfortunately, we're not going to see any boss fight then. But like I was saying with Spelunky, still trying. That guy is always critical of what I do. Spelunky, you'd have the merchant, and the great thing about the merchant is you could sort of heist his place. You could try to defeat him and steal his stuff. And I do miss that in this game. This game doesn't really have that so far. Like I said before, I only reached level 3, and at the moment it didn't have it in there. We also have the daily run, so this is a challenge that has changed every single day, updated basically. And there'll be different starting items and stuff, I think. I don't think it's identical every single time, but I've only played twice so far. So as you can see here, just for a little change of pace, we start with more default items. So I have a bow instead of having the gun. This is like the default item, obviously. I like the gun better because it doesn't have the drop off that a bow does, and the bow does less damage as well. So, but I mean, it's manageable. Especially, I really should look get more into the flow of actually using my melee weapon. At the moment, I don't use my melee weapon enough. Oh, these skulls are going to finish me off, aren't they? I still have a little skull. There we go. So this is a daily challenge that is... Whoa! Never seen that enemy before. Holy smokes, I'm taking damage. Fire damage. This is a daily challenge of the setup, and then players basically compete for score, so it doesn't have anything to do with the story per se. So there's supposedly some kind of story going on here. I haven't gotten far enough really to experience much of it. Like I said before, the little merchant, the gray-bearded cynical guy who does not approve of my efforts, he was involved in it early on. Like he had some lines of text to speak, but aside from that, there hasn't been much else. Okay, we don't have any bombs. I was going to try to blow that place up so I could get up there. Apparently not. A double jump would come in handy in situations such as that. We have a bat causing trouble. So one of the best ways to kill bats I found is shooting them on the diagonal. It's difficult to catch them. One nice thing about the melee combat in this game is it's actually tactical in the sense that you don't have to worry about... I don't have enough gold for that. A lot of games like this are based on proximity, which basically means that if you touch an enemy, you take damage from the enemy. A lot of enemies in this game, though, they actually have to perform an attack on you before you take damage, which really makes the melee combat a lot more interesting and a lot more feasible, basically. Because unlike in games where you just can't get close to them, you can be jumping around them, and providing they're not executing an attack at the time, you're not going to take damage because of it. And it also allows you to do things like, you know, get down behind them, and that skull is gonna... I'm not sure, does that skull attack continuously? Yeah, I think it does. Okay, that's going to be strictly a ranged thing that we're gonna have to deal with, basically, then. But yeah, for a lot of the enemies, you can attack them with melee weapons, and you're not going to be taking damage if you do it, you know, if you can time your attacks right. Yeah, did a jump attack on that. It worked for once. Usually, I do not have a good result. That doesn't make any sense. I usually don't have good results doing the jump attack. It's a fun attack, but so much of the time I just miscalculate and take damage because of it. I also take a lot of damage from those slimes. Good grief. Let's see if we can. Yeah, okay, that's good. That's good. We got a bombo, and let's eat our apple. Might as well get that extra health while we can. Yeah, so this is the bombo. I don't think I've ever had one of these before. No! It's the ghost, the Pac-Man ghost. He's coming for me. Oh, I can actually hurt myself? I did not know that. Yeah, so just gonna try to do some melee there. I don't think we've seen enough melee. This is a blessing I actually have to pay for. Creates a spinning morning star around you which damages nearby enemies. That sounds really cool. I wonder how long that lasts for. Can hardly imagine it lasts for very long. Seems too good to be true kind of situation. I want to see it do some damage. Come on. No! Get the bat. I just wanted to see the morning star do something. I don't see it. Okay, I guess it does do damage. Never mind. Close enough. Oh, level 2. This is actually the farthest I've ever gotten on a challenge run. Usually they're pretty hard. We still have the bomb. We have to be aware of the bombo, because if we shoot like that, I end up dealing damage to myself. This is the second time I've done that. No, and I killed myself. Oh my goodness. I just said don't do that, and then I did it. Yeah. So that's a lot of what CaveBlazers is about. Like I said before, I think this is a fairly good demonstration of it for first impressions. Sadly, we didn't get to see any of the bosses, but like I said before, if you're familiar with Binding of Isaac bosses, they're similar to that, except think in a more vertical layout instead of being horizontal. You know, you got a floor you're running around on. Instead, you got the area above you, platforming style. So yeah, like I said before, yeah, it's CaveBlazers. It's really fast paced. I like the action of it, especially like you compare it to other games that are currently out there. I think this one is very intensive. It has a fair amount of depth in terms of the different weapons and whatnot, or that it's available in it. The magic system too is kind of fun. So if you're interested, certainly check it out. It is currently $10 on Steam. As I said before, I was provided with this code complimentary for purposes of evaluation and providing gameplay footage. So that's like a disclaimer. I think there's like FTC compliance or something. You have to make people aware of what you got for free and what you didn't. So just want to make sure I'm on the right side of that and everything. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time.